So is it finally time to panic about Las Vegas real estate? Not so fast. Stay tuned. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your favorite Las Vegas realtor. Hey guys, I got a very interesting video for you today about the Las Vegas real estate market, so make sure you watch the entire thing. Before we dive into the video, guys, 3 quick things. Number 1, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about the Las Vegas real estate market, then definitely subscribe down below. Number 2, make sure to give me a thumbs up like, guys. It would really help the channel out. And number 3, if you guys are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, I've got your back. I'm a local realtor here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. Let's dive into the video. Okay guys, so I think the debate is over now as to whether or not we're possibly in a recession. I actually think we now are in a recession. As you can see here on screen, it definitely looks like we would need a miracle to not be in a recession. You can also see here the stock market has taken the worst hit in the last 50 years. Housing prices look like they're falling a little bit further. Even food prices are at record high levels. So what does this all mean? How are we going to get out of this recession? And how does it relate back, of course, to real estate, specifically in Las Vegas? Let's dive into that a little bit more now. All right, so I want to roll the clock back now, guys, and I want to talk a little bit about how we really got into this recession. Obviously, it started a couple years ago when the pandemic started. The government printed trillions of dollars to subsidize a lot of people that were out of work. So when the government prints trillions of dollars like that, a hyperinflationary situation came upon us. Now, what happens with the government, the Fed specifically, they have to try to curtail inflation because everything has gone out of whack in terms of all the prices going up. So the only way to curtail that is to raise interest rates. Interest rates is the true driver as to why we're now in a recessionary time, because the Fed really created a lose-lose situation for themselves. They raised interest rates so fast. When you do that, it creates a recessionary situation, which is what we're in right now. Even though the problem is we still have high inflation, the rates going up as much as they have not curtailed inflation. And I want to show you specifically in this next clip exactly what the rate increase means when it pertains to real estate. So let's take a look at that right now. All right, so I want you guys to take a look at this on-screen graphic. I actually want you to read the entire thing here, because what it basically says is every time interest rates go up 1%, you lose about 11% of your purchasing power for a home. And I want you guys to read this. Take a second to read it, because I want to show you in the next example how this relates specifically to what kind of a house you can afford or what you can't afford. All right, so now let's take a look at this on-screen graphic here, guys. This relates specifically to what I just showed you in the previous graphic in terms of interest rates. So let's take a look at that top example. If you were pre-approved in January of this year for a $600,000 home loan at 3% in January, that's about where interest rates were. Right now, you can see interest rates are really just about 6% right now. That doesn't mean they're going to stay there forever, but now look at what you qualify for. You only qualify for about $400,000 on a pre-approval, because every time that interest rate went up 1%, you lost about 11%. So if you take 3% difference and you multiply that as a 33% difference in terms of what you can afford for a home, you lose a third of your purchasing power from what happened at the beginning of this year when interest rates were 3% versus where they are now at 6%. So you guys can see now why things have changed dramatically in the housing market. At the beginning of the year when interest rates were 3%, you could get a lot more bang for your buck than you can now. So a lot of buyers have dropped out. They can't get what they want. So obviously inventory has been increasing. But if you take a look at this graphic right here, it doesn't mean interest rates are on this runaway skyrocketing situation. Fannie Mae here is predicting by the time we get into 2023, we might be at about 4.5%. So 4.5% is the middle ground of what I just showed you in that example. So instead of being able to afford a $600,000 house, maybe you'd only be able to afford a $500,000 house if rates come down a little bit. But the one thing a lot of people fail to realize is, looking at it from a historical perspective, we are still near record low levels on interest rates. Obviously, we got spoiled at the beginning of the year where we were hovering right around 3%. That was an unprecedented time. Now rates have gone up, so everything really has changed. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys in the next clip here exactly how that relates to the Las Vegas home prices because of what's been happening to the inventory levels here because of the higher interest rates. All right, guys, I want to show you this chart, which I've never shown you before. I want you to take a look at this full chart. It goes back about 6 years, but what I want to do is I want you to take a look at the right side of the chart. This is where we're at right now over here on the right side where you see my little arrow there. That's right now just about 9,500. It's probably a little bit higher right now. About 9,000 or so, maybe close to 10,000 active homes for sale. Now, if you go back to the beginning of the year here, we were way down here. So we had very little inventory. That's why the home prices went bananas. And now inventory is spiking. But the reason I want to show you this chart is because I want you guys to take a look at the history in Las Vegas going back about 6 years. If you take a look here on the far side here, around 9,500 homes were for sale about maybe 5-6 years ago. Now, obviously inventory dropped down here, then it went back up, kind of stagnated a little bit here in this little middle gap. Then it went all the way back down again. We had a little bit of a spike, and then we really dropped to our lowest levels. And now if you take a look over here where we're at currently on the right side, if you draw a line right across here, all the way across, we're pretty much back to where we were about 5 or 6 years ago. And the reason I'm showing you this is, even though inventory is spiked right here, if you look at this historically over a period of time, this was a healthy market back then. So basically, we're now entering into a more healthy market in terms of overall inventory, whereas before the inventory was very low. That's why prices went crazy. But if you really take a look at this chart from back 5-6 years ago right here to about 9,500 homes to about the same level right now, we're now actually into a balanced market. We're starting to really stabilize, and it's really just kind of normalizing now. Even though prices are going to come down a little bit because inventory's gone up, this is really considered a normal market now. All right, now that interest rates are firmly in place at a higher level, people obviously have gotten scared. People can't qualify as much. So how has this affected the home prices here in Las Vegas? Let's take a look at this graphic right here. All right, guys, what I want to do here is I want to show you two charts. So this first chart is what I call the micro chart. This is going to be the chart for this year's home prices here. So you can see going back to about April of 2022, right down there in the bottom left, we hit about $480,000. Then we went up to $485,000, stayed right up around there in June. Then we dropped down here. This was our first drop off really here at about $475,000 in July. And then back down here to about right around $460,000 is the number now coming out of August. So this is right here showing you the trend for this year going up to the peak. And now, of course, we're dropping down because, again, inventory is coming up. Interest rates have gone up, so that's why we're dropping down here a little bit. But I want you to take a look at this chart as the micro chart. The next chart, what I want to show you guys, is more of a macro chart, just to kind of show you the overall home price trend over the last 10 years in Las Vegas. So this one here is the micro one. We're coming down a little bit, obviously, because of inventory coming up and interest rates going up. But now let's take a look at the 10-year price history of the average price homes here in Las Vegas. All right, guys, I was able to squeeze myself into this chart, but I wanted you guys to see more of a macro view. When you zoom out on the Las Vegas home prices for the last 10 years, you can see something very noticeable here. So let's take a look at this chart. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you look down here on the bottom left, 10 years ago, the average home price was $140,000. Now you can see the arrow going all the way up to the right here to the current price. You can probably see that just under my picture here. $460,000 now is roughly the average price point here. So a lot of people over many years have said that Vegas home prices are going to go down. We have a water crisis here. There's too much land. There's too much inventory. But this chart shows you specifically 10 years ago where prices were, where they are now, and you can see obviously that the trend is constantly going up here. So when you look at more of a macro view of the Las Vegas home price market, you can see where prices are headed. That is more of a telltale sign than any of the micro view stuff that's going on right now. So I just want you guys to take a look at this chart. So what I want to do now is I want to show you some real world examples as to what's going on in the current Las Vegas real estate market. Take a look. All right, guys, I have a few examples here set up on Zillow. I want to show you full transparency as to what's going on in the Las Vegas real estate market. So let's take a look at one of the first problematic examples here on Zillow. I want you guys to take a look here at this price here. Now, this is basically a brand new single-story home. It's $815,000. The recent price cut was $21,000. Now, it's important for me to show you this example because I want to show you this is the problem with some of the homes now in Las Vegas. Right down here, I want you to look at the price history, right at the bottom right. Back in the May period of 2021, the builder was selling this home right at about $630,000. Now, if you take a look at just a little over a year later, look at the price point they were trying to get right there. Almost 1.1 million. So from here to here, in the course of just over a year, they try to make almost $500,000 profit. Obviously, it was a ridiculously overpriced number. Now watch this as I scroll down. They dropped it a little bit more than $100,000 here. They dropped it here another $50,000. They dropped it again. They dropped it again, and they keep dropping it now to the current price right at the end of August of $815,000. So this is a perfect example of a home builder and trying to get way too much money because they knew that the market was a seller's market. They were trying to get as much as they can. Now it's shifted to a buyer's market. So this is an example of a home that was very much overpriced, and now they're coming back down to reality with it. All right, guys, now what I want to do on this example is I want to show you the flip side of the Las Vegas real estate market. Obviously, from the previous example, there's a lot of homes that are overpriced, and that's why there's been price drops happening now across the board. But there's a lot of homes here, especially even at the higher price points like this example, that are moving quickly. Now, let me show you the example here. Take a look on the right. Price point $1.425 million. Now, this is an actual home I was looking for a client of mine. But you see right there underneath it where it says pending with the red dot, that means there's an offer on it. So if you scroll down here to the bottom right, I just want to show you down here, take a look at this. Now this gives you a perfect example as to what's going on. Right down here, see where it says 8.4 listed for sale for $1.425 million? Now take a look at this on 8/22. So it didn't even take 3 weeks. It took about 2.5 weeks to get a pending sale right on the number. So it just goes to show you that when you have the home priced right, even at this price point, homes are still moving at this level. All right, guys, let's take a look at this example here. This is a beautiful 2-story home here in Las Vegas. Take a look at the price here at the top right. So you see that this price is $940,000. Then you take a look at the price cut right underneath it, only about $9,000. And then underneath that, it's pending, which means there's an offer currently right now on this home. So if you take a look and scroll down here on the bottom right, I want to show you guys the price history here. This is another home that's priced right, because if you take a look here, right there on June 30th, it was listed at right around $950,000. Then they took off the $10,000 roughly, or the $9,000 right at the end of July. So you see that that price point now is the current reflected price. And right at the beginning of August, this was sold. Right now, it's got a pending sale for $939,000. So there was only about a $9,000 price cut in about just over a month or so for this home to be sold. So this just goes to show you when homes are priced right here, even at these price points, they are still moving and they are still selling. So here's the $1 million question, guys. Do I think you should wait to buy a home? My gut reaction is to tell you yes, but there's a lot of big money waiting out there. You've got institutional investment money like hedge funds waiting to scoop up cheaper real estate. And I'm going to show you in the next clip the kind of money that the hedge funds are throwing around, and they are waiting to buy cheaper real estate. So if you want to wait, I think it's not a bad idea. I think there's some downside more to this real estate market, but you kind of have to compete with some of the bigger players that are going to step in as this market comes down, and I'm going to show you that in the next clip. All right, so what I'm about to put on screen here, guys, really might surprise you. A lot of people don't know this information. I want you to take a look at this on-screen graphic because this is going to tremendously affect the real estate market. You can see how these hedge funds have just an endless supply of cash. They're waiting for the downturn. Definitely think there's a little bit more on the downside here, but you can see the kind of money that they have that they're waiting and prepping to use for the next cycle of buying. Now, in the next graphic here, I want to show you this. Now, you can pause the video if you want, but basically, if you want to read this entire thing, it talks about how the hedge funds, when they buy a tremendous amount of homes, if they do sell them in the future, they don't sell them back to the individual buyers or investors. They bundle them now as an asset class, and they sell them to other funds. And what that means is they are going to be taking thousands and thousands of homes permanently off the market. That's a huge deal because a lot of times when people are looking to buy, they're waiting for a downturn cycle like now, and then they want to eventually buy low and then get in at a good price. The hedge funds are going to slowly start to prevent that from ever happening because they're going to buy so many homes, they're going to take so many off the market, and it's going to be much more difficult for the average buyer to buy a home. And this is definitely affecting the local Las Vegas real estate market. As you can see with this on-screen graphic here, it's definitely happening here. It has been happening here because Las Vegas has always been a prime spot for big hedge funds in Wall Street to invest here because it's been affordable to buy homes here. So how does that relate back to people who are looking to buy a home in Las Vegas? Well, again, it takes homes off the market because the hedge funds have bought thousands of homes here. So even though the prices are coming down a little bit, they're just going to keep buying more and more. They're going to permanently take them off the market. And that, of course, is going to keep Las Vegas real estate prices elevated here for a long time to come. All right, so here's my advice, guys. I know a lot of people think a realtor is only going to tell you to buy or sell because they always think it's a good time to do that so that they can make money. I am not at all telling you guys to do that. In fact, I'm telling you just the opposite. I think you should sit tight for a couple of months and see what happens in the market. But there's other people that want to just buy a home in beautiful Las Vegas because we have great weather, we have low taxes, we have great entertainment. The bottom line is this: if you buy a home and you hold on to a home, long-term real estate time is on your side. So if you want to buy something now, you want to wait 3 months, 6 months, or a year, you can do that too. In the long run, real estate, like everything else in this world, has only gone up. So when you have time on your side and you can do it, whether or not it's comfortable to do it now and you want to wait till prices come down a little bit and it's a little bit more affordable, or you want to do it right now, it doesn't really matter. Long-term real estate, especially in Las Vegas, has always been a great place to park your money, and we have beautiful homes here. So if you're thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, I've got your back. I'm a local realtor here. You can reach out and ask me any questions anytime. It would be my pleasure to help you find that perfect dream home. Just call, text, or email me anytime. See you in the next video.